What's up guys, macadii here, and today guys, the week 4 battle of the Pokemon Fight Club where I was up against Matt, aka HDvee. Really hype battle, really great one. So if you're excited, don't forget to hit the like button down below. I would really appreciate it. If we could get this to 70 likes again, that would be absolutely insane. You guys are coming out with these likes, and it's so great to see so much support on this series. So what we're going to do, like we always do, is run through what Matt's got, what we're going to be bringing, and then go into the battle from there. So Matt can bring Mega Latias, Thundurus, Sylveon, Talonflame, Azelf, Doublade, Vaporeon, Emboar, Hitmontop, Amoonguss, Rhydon, Pelipper, Meganium, and Purugly. A very scary set of things, and a lot of great offense and also a lot of defense to try and deal with. So I had to try and think of a plan to work around that. So the first thing what I did, as I always do, is plot down the speeds of Pokemon I've got. And by doing that, I identified something very important about Matt's draft that I knew I'd be able to take advantage of. So we're going to move over to the sheet here. You guys can get a sneak preview of my prep sheet here. So what we've got is my stuff on the side, on the left, and his stuff on the right. And I've actually sorted these in terms of speed. And what you can see here is that he actually has a very big speed gap, where apart from Meganium, which you'd never run max speed Meganium, he has got a speed gap between 70 speed and 110 speed, which is absolutely huge. So basically, anything that doesn't reach 110 speed, I just barely have to put any speed at all to make sure that I can outspeed the rest of his draft. So that is really exciting. So I can get a very bulky draft and not stress too much about the sort of the outspeeding side. The bad news about that though is that a lot of his offense outspeeds my offense as well. So I have to try and sort of find a middle ground where I've got wall breakers that meet that speed tier, but also good enough walls to take on its offense as well. So what we're going to do is go back to there. So I decided to go for 2 wall breakers for this one. First one we have got is Fugs Bunny the Diggersby, because this guy matches up really well against Matt's team. He doesn't have much that isn't 2-hit KO'd by it, and it also hits that magic speed gap between that Hitmontop and the Mega Latias, which is absolutely fantastic. So I decided to go for a Life Orb set with this, with huge power with Return, U-Turn, Earthquake, and Quick Attack. Now, last time he fought a Diggersby, because he did, I think it was week 2, he ended up bringing a defensive Latias to try and counter that with enough speed to make sure it can outspeed it, but also alone in defense so it isn't 2-hit KO'd. So what I wanted to do was potentially try and work around that. So originally this was a Swords Dance set where I had a Swords Dance instead of U-Turn. But I decided U-Turn would be better because if that's his number 1 switch, if I can work that out, then I can U-Turn, get initiative, and then go out into something else that's going to do a huge amount of damage to it. So that's why I decided to go for U-Turn there. Also, if they're within kill range, I can go for a U-Turn, get out of there, and avoid being revenge killed or having to switch out into a wall. So that was my plan for Diggersby. I could also potentially bluff the Scarf the first turn. Obviously, the Life Orb is going to give it away, but if I wanted to, I could definitely bluff this guy as a Scarf user and be a little bit bold of him. So he had a lot of really good uses against Matt's team. The other thing I was able to bring was Hydra, the Hydreigon, because none of my team was able to be Scarfed really outside of Scarf Jafar, which is kind of pointless to outspeed all of his offense. So I was able to put Hydreigon out there, put a Scarf on him to make sure he outspeeds all of his offensive threats, but also then have a load of bulk. So I can take the Talonflame's Brave Birds and all those sorts of stuff, switch him into some cheeky moves and stuff like that, and just sort of take a few hits. So the moveset I decided on was Draco Meteor, because apart from a very bulky Amoonguss, and I guess the Sylveon, he has nothing to switch into Draco. I'm not expecting him to bring the Sylveon because he is going to be terrified of that Bullet Bill. Because basically, unless he's very offensive, Bullet Bill can switch in so many times and just get a massive hit off. So he won't be too keen on that. Same principle as well with the Amoonguss. I'm not expecting him to bring that because I've got Jafar, I've got Bullet Bill. I've got so many different ways to be able to handle that. So I wasn't really expecting that. So that's why this guy worked really nicely. We got U-Turn for initiative, Dark Pulse as well, because once a certain threats are out the way, Dark Pulse just hits a lot of his team really hard, and that is really nice. And then finally Surf. Surf was interesting because Matt does not have many rocks options, which is really nice to see. His best option is his Rhydon. Now, if he was max attack, max HP, Surf just OHKOs. So my plan was to lead with Hydra, and then if he decides to lead off with that, I can just go for a Surf, pop it in one go. Even if it's Spadef, I get a massive amount of damage off and it's out the way. But at least then I do manage to get some really nice damage off on it. The only sort of tricky thing about that is obviously he does have that Vaporeon, so that is really spooky. The other plan of leading this is he could potentially lead with Thunderous. Now this guy's Draco Meteor has I think it's about a 50% chance to OHKO with a modest nature. So the question is, I could sacrifice this guy, let him be T-waved, but then also get a Draco off and then just bop him from there. And that's one massive threat out of the way, because by far Thunderous is probably the biggest threat to my draft at the minute. I also have Heal Bell on the Clefable, so I would be able to heal him up later on. But that's basically was my sort of main plan to try and handle that Thunderous. Alongside that as well, we have got Bullet Bill. Now, I had to think about it. Originally, this was max speed. And I decided, nope, that's not a good idea, because all I'm doing is basically putting a load of speed into speed tie that Mega Latias. And if I invest loads into HP, what I could do is actually use this as a way to actually remove it. So I have Zen Headbutt, Meteor Mash, and Thunder Punch. All of those hit his draft incredibly hard. And then finally Pursuit, because if he goes for that Draco Meteor on something, I come in with Bullet Bill. I can take Shadow Balls at -2 for days. That is not a problem at all. And I can go for those Pursuits. And basically, that's a dead Mega Latias. So that was the plan with that. If he decides to switch out, it does about 80%. So, this guy was basically designed to do that. He also hits that nice speed tier, as I said, between his draft, so I can outspeed about 60% of his draft, and the rest of them, I'm bulky enough to take a hit from and KO at least one of them back. So that was the plan with Mega Metagross. In terms of my Wk4 now, the Wk4 I decided on was my Clefable and HDvee the Gligar. Now, this took me quite a while to try and work out what to go for, because he has a lot of potential for setup. I knew Clefable was probably going to have to come, just because he's got things like Nasty Plot Thunderous. He's also got, the Talonflame could be a massive issue if that was SD. And Dovahkiin is able, with the Unaware ability, just ignores those boosts, and it's really, really nice. HDvee is here basically as an answer to the Talonflame, and it also gives me a switch into the Doublade as well. Obviously, I can't touch the Doublade, but Fug's Buddy can come in. It can potentially OHKO after a little bit of prior damage, so I'd be able to U-turn into that as he tries to set up or do something like that, and then I can go into Fug's Bunny. He can't go for the Shadow Sneak, and I'd be able to bop him from there. It also gives me a switch into the Rhydon. I also don't have Defog on this team, which sounds a little bit weird, but first of all, a lot of my team actually resists rocks or doesn't really care about rocks too much, so I wasn't too fussed about doing that. He only has rocks as his sort of hazard options. On top of that as well, he's going to want to try and keep them off, because he's got that Talonflame. He's going to be trying his hardest to try and keep those rocks off the field, so I'm going to let him do that job for me. So I'm just going to use this Gligar to be bulky, set up rocks, U-turn out, and just get a little bit of initiative going. Potentially he could switch into the Mega Latias, thinking that the Gligar won't be able to touch me. I can U-turn out and go into something else to put pressure on him. So that was basically the choice for that. Now the Dovahkiin set, this took me a long, long time, because at the minute, my team was very, very weak to Thunderous. I didn't have a huge amount for it. My main answer to it was to get T-Wave by something, either the Mega Metagross or the Hydreigon, and then just OHKO it back, which both of them had the potential to do after a tiny bit of Life Orb recoil from it. So my Clefable was designed to be a sort of backup switch into it. Now, I did end up making a little bit of a prep mistake for this, but you guys will see that later on in the battle. And what I decided this guy to be was going to be one of my walls, a mixed wall, but also a late game sweeper as well. So he was filling a lot of roles. I was aware there was going to be a lot of pressure on Clefable, but I did believe in it, and I was sure that it would be able to do what it wanted to do, because it needed to wall certain threats, but also it gave me a switch into Vaporeon. There's a lot of things I could set up Calm Minds on. If he decides to bring Calm Mind Mega Latias, I just get one Calm Mind up and then two-shot it from there, and his stored powers don't do anything at all. Obviously, they still get the boosts in terms of the, plus 20 for every single stat boost, but it doesn't get that special attack boost, so it really doesn't hit too hard, and I can set up on that. So this is my answer to Calm Mind Mega Latias, my switch into the Vaporeon, and a few other things as well, and just could set up on a lot of his team, and once I'd set up a lot, I could basically sweep late game from there. So that was the plan with him. Obviously, then finally, Alakazam as well was designed to basically just take a hit from something and KO it. Had Hidden Power Rock there for Talonflame, Shadow Ball, which allowed me to hit Mega Latias, Psychic, which allowed me to hit quite a few different threats there, and then finally Energy Ball as well, which helped me with the Vaporeon and also the Rhydon. So what we're going to do now is actually move over to the battle, and you guys will see exactly how it went down. Okay, so we're at the battle now, and as you can see, he decided to bring a very, very offensive team with a wall core of the Rhydon and also the Vaporeon, a very, very solid one. definitely against my team. So obviously bringing a lot of offense is going to put a lot of strain on my walls, so I had to be very, very careful with that, not to overstretch them too much, but I needed to make sure I had that offense as well to really, really pip him. So I was expecting either the Azelf lead or the Rhydon lead or the Thunderous lead. Now each one of those I would be able to take a hit with Hydreigon. If he decided to lead up with Talonflame, I could outspeed, I could Draco Meteor if he decided to U-turn. If he Brave Birded, I could take a Banded one. So basically I had a great matchup of basically everything apart from the Vaporeon. What I also noticed, he didn't have too much for the Clefable, so I would be potentially able to take that out, set up late game and sweep from there. So what we're going to do is actually play it. I've switched the music off, so it's not going to play the music and scare me like it normally does when I try and record these and then have to re-record them. So we're going to press play. So I lead off with Hydreigon as he leads off with Thunderous. Now, as I said, my original plan here was just a Draco Meteor. And I must admit, I chickened out at this point. I knew I had to switch in, so I was just like, I can't risk it at this point because, as I said, it was a roll to kill with Draco Meteor. If he decides to go for Focus Blast here, Hail Hydra just matches up so well against the rest of his team. Like, Azelf, I can kill. I can really do a lot of damage to that Vaporeon every time it switches in. I can do a really, really nice amount to that Rhydon if he decides to go into that, and also obviously the Mega Lattice. It just puts so much pressure on his team, and it was not worth it in my opinion. So what I decided to do is actually switch out here and go into Dovahkiin, as he ends up going into number 1, the Rhydon. So I go out here into Gligar. This is my opportunity to set up rocks, as we said that was the plan. So I go for my Stealth Rocks. He does go for Ice Punch, and it does a respectable amount. Calculating that, he looks to be a Spadef set, but I can go for the Roost here. Now, at this point here, I anticipated him to switch out, so I decided to go for U-turn. I had switches if he did decide to stay in, so he does end up going into this, which is fantastic. This is what we planned for, him to go into this, and we can get that U-turn. We now put so much pressure on him. So we end up basically force him out here. He does go into blue, and we get that Draco Meteor off, and basically force him to Wish here, which is really, really nice. So we can double out here, go into Dovahkiin, because this is our dedicated switch. We can start setting up early game, potentially if we wanted to, which is really, really nice. He does go into Hotline Wing. We get our Calm Mind off now, and now, if he wants to defog, he can, but he's going to take a really good amount of damage from this Moonblast. So he does end up megaing up here, going for that defog, which is fantastic. We get our Moonblast off, and that does 60%, which is a fantastic amount of damage. At this point here, he does go into the Talonflame. We don't know what set this Talonflame is. I don't particularly want to risk it, so I do go out into the Gligar here, as he sets up the SD, and it was like, damn, we could have stayed in, because we can take those Brave Birds. We'd have 2-hit KO'd if he couldn't Brave Bird, and we could put him under so much pressure. But we do end up switching out into Batty B here, and it was the safest play, because Banded Brave Bird hits like a truck. So we do force him out as he goes into Vaporeon. I could not afford him to set up or me to go to the U-turn and have to sack something. So he does go into blue here as I switch out into Dovahkiin. He makes a fantastic double here into Zeus. A really, really solid play on his part. Now, at this point here, I was like, okay, it's fine. We planned for this. Thunderbolt's going to be absolutely fine. I can just set up. He reveals the Sludge Wave. This was the oversight in my prep, because I completely forgot about the fact that Zeus got Sludge Wave. It completely slipped my mind. And yeah, screw the Genies, basically. I hate the Genies in League format. So the Sludge Wave does come as I go for the Calm Mind. A huge, huge misplay on my part. So I need to now try and work out a contingency plan from here. So what I realise now is he has to go for that Sludge Wave. Thunderbolt won't kill. I can recover up. T-Wave, I can recover up. And he does not want me to recover up, because now I've got that Spadef boost, I can actually take those Sludge Waves. So I decide to go for a very bold play, go out into my Mega Metagross. Now at this point here, this is what we planned for. He's worn down by Life Orb enough where a Zen Headbutt is going to kill. So we Mega up here, he goes to that T-Wave, that's absolutely fine, but we get powered. Absolutely huge power. He then proceeds to go for Dark Pulse, and unfortunately at this point, we get powered again. So this is really, really unfortunate. Our Metagross basically takes way too much damage. We could have been able to kill this, and now we're in a really, really sorry position. I know he's going to go for Dark Pulse again, so I decide to go into Hydreigon here. Now the same principle applies again. I'm going to have to get another Mon paralyzed to try and do this. So he does T-Wave me. Luckily I break through and the Draco Meteor destroys this. So that's Zeus out of the way. But I took it cost me so much to try and take that guy out that it was really, really unfortunate. I needed to get that Heal Bell off late game and try and fix it from there. But what I noticed now was, obviously Hotline Wing is in. I couldn't afford to lose Hail Hydra, because Hail Hydra is still very, very useful to me. But Mega Metagross isn't as much. So I decide to sack off Mega Meteors here. I know he can heal up. That's not the biggest problem in the world. He does go for that Shadow Ball and he takes me out. So I do go down there. We do lose it, but I can go into Clefable. I rolled, I checked it, and we've got a really good chance to recover up here. I was expecting him to probably have the Dragon move with Shadow Ball. We saw the Roost, we saw the Defog. And I could take a Psychic move with the spread that I had. So I was able to Moonlight up, and this was really, really huge. So basically, my Dovahkiin is back in action and has the potential to start sweeping from here. He does go into the Rhydon here, and I wasn't not really sure what to bring from here. He does go for that Stealth Rock. I was anticipating possibly a Roar or something like that. He goes into blue as I set up my rocks. So we've got rocks back up. That's great. The Talonflame is under a lot of pressure. So I go for that U-turn there, just to get that chip damage, because that chip damage would be really, really nice, as he does go for that Ice Beam on Dovahkiin. That is great. So from here, I decided best to recover up here. I am aware we don't have that many Moonlights, because obviously we only have 8 PP, so we've got to be very, very careful here. So I do go for Calm Mind. I needed to find out how much this would do. So he does go for that Rock Blast, and as you can see, he gets the 5 hits, which is a bit spooky, because we're going to have to gamble a little bit, go for a few Moonlights, and hope he gets some low rolls in terms of the Rock Blast. Obviously, he'll average 3, and that was manageable for me, but if he got loads of 5s, I'd have been in trouble. He does make a really, really powerful move out into the Gale Wind here, as I go for another boost. Now, at this point, I'm doing about 50%. He's forced to Roost up here because he cannot Oko me. So he's going to keep going for Roosts. I calced how much this damage I was doing and stuff like that, and I realized that he will be doing just under 50% from me. So we're going to keep going, because I could have PP stalled at this point, but I was fishing for a crit to start with. Crit wasn't happening, and I decided to take my matters into my own hands in a second. Because if I could get myself up to plus and one more boost, then I would be a happy guy. Because he won't be able to Roost stall me or do anything like that. So he's still going for those Roosts, trying to do that. So I go for this, the Calm Mind there. He decides to go for Swords Dance, which is a big, big misplay. I think he forgot about the fact that I was unaware. So going for that Swords Dance was huge, because now I'm able to get that Moonblast off. He goes for Brave Bird here. I knew that was his only play, and I can just go for a Moonlight here and bring myself back up. So basically, we got rid of the Talonflame, which is great, and we can start this sweep going like we planned to do. So he goes into blue here, going for the skull, trying to snag that burn. We go for another Moonblast and take him out. So this is looking really, really nice. Goes into Rhydon. We will be able to Twitch KO the Rhydon, and that is fantastic. Even if we had Toxic, we had the heal bell, so that would be fine. Earthquake still doing respectable amount, but I did not realize how much attack Rhydon had. Rhydon's got 130 attack, which is just absolutely insane for a I think it's PU, or is it Enumon? I can't remember, but it's pretty crazy. So we do end up going on a bit of a sweep here, and we end up sweeping in from here and finishing off the match with a 5-0 victory. Really not, compared to the actual battle itself, the difference in the score just didn't make any, it was not representative, it's probably what I'm trying to say. But still, absolutely fantastic match. Halfway through, I thought that was it. If I don't get my Clefable up, it is going to be GG. But we do manage to do that and pulled it off with a fantastic Clefable switch. One of the MVPs of this team, I must admit, so far. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to go check out Matt as well. He's a fantastic guy. And I will see you guys at the next one. macadii out.